to my wonderful listeners. One Family TV wala mutanali nan kotenke. Mbadi ngolo ikafu minister me yeko Hamat ba me yalon ko atele mararin cheno la ko wala de anin dino la ko wala anin man sakundari ngol la ko ni nade atele moti me yalon ko bi adia mota press release dulanin tore atande ko former minister of information DA Jawo atandala la ko amanyana lansino di lanin compagnie la me yalon ko wala mu GSM compagnie nintide pour ye television on radio station ol ta kalo Gambia banko din kande akon ni wonte ni woli okay akon ni dolte sponsor la me yalon ko advertisement olu me yalon ko wala mun journalist solti de wolto soto le ila tele radio bon to de me yalon ko ayo fode bar ay diamu jama fo me yalon ko se Hamat bata na lamoy anin hagilo la den kana alla moy anin jusola de abe kuma kawol me yalon ko abe wala fo kam bi press release do anin to de
good afternoon, Honorable Minister of Information, and good afternoon, Government Spokesperson for the Government of the Gambia, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Lands, Local Government, Regional Administration and Religious Affairs, Deputy Permanent Secretaries, Directors, Senior Government Officials, and Deputy Spokesperson, and of course, senior officials of the media, reporters, and all other protocol respectfully observed. Today will be my fourth encounter with the press since I took over as Minister of Lands, Local Government, Regional Administration, and Religious Affairs. And I had wanted to do this earlier, but because of a lot of other issues that compounded, make it difficult for me to do that, because people were expecting me at least to speak out. And I think it's time that we speak out, and it's time that we put the Gambians in the picture of what we have seen and what we have done the last 1.5 months or so. Could be 2 months now, almost close to that. I started around the 28th, and that was in March, April, May, so it's 2 months since I've been there. And then there are two issues here. I'll be doing a lot of reading. I love talking more than reading when it comes to public appearances. Privately, I read a lot, and I love reading. The reason why I have to read, these are recommendations coming out of an inquiry, investigation, and it is important that you capture them accurately for record purposes. And therefore, I'll be reading that statement. You're all aware there was an ongoing investigation about the issue of Kamalo, an area around the Sting Corner that was declared as an industrial zone. And there was a lot of outcry of wrongdoings that led to the president taking a decision in the supreme interest of the Gambian people to get to the bottom of what transpired and what happened at that particular site. Serving public interest, you're always dictated by public concern. And as a result, the president directed that a committee be constituted to investigate and report back so that we can take decisions in the future to avoid that happening. And those decisions I am going to communicate to you as soon as I finish reading this statement. Now, the public raised concerns about Barton Haldane 2 regarding the allocations around that end. And we will also tell you what the ministry is doing and intend to do collectively together in order to close the gaps and avoid some of the wrongdoings and the mistakes and some of the practices of the past. And this, I will just set the background for you to understand where we are coming from and where we hope to be together as a country. The Gambia is among the 5th most densely populated countries in Africa. Most of those countries, with the exception of maybe Mauritius, few of them have gone into conflict of land and problems, civil war, and the rest of it. And you must take into account too, the Gambia, in 30 years from now, this population would have doubled up. And again, we must understand land does not expand, it contracts. Once you give it away, it's gone. It never comes back. And again, you must also understand that it's one of the most important commodity in or asset for any country anywhere in the world. And that all the countries that have taken off on development have instituted strong land policy, strong, transparent land policies, including the United States. All the countries that have moved on quick development have managed their land well. So we are at a crucial stage now as a country. We either do it now, hard facts, move with vigor, decisiveness, courage, get it done for our children and our grandchildren, or we fail woefully and subject our country to chaos. Today, the United Nations, the World Bank, the UN, ECOWAS, AU, all these countries, their prediction on Gambia's next crisis will be on land. Our next crisis will not be politics if we don't manage our land. The fight would start and our country will be in trouble if we don't manage our land. Because the way it is being used, the way it is being managed, we all agree, the whole world, not only us, that it is not properly managed, not properly utilized. Therefore, we must take the bitter pill. It's not going to be an easy job. It's not going to be an easy task to address it. It will be a hard one. And I remembered Obasanjo telling me in 2000, we were in the villa having dinner. He said, Honorable Ba, when he was forming the AFCC, the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, he said, when you fight corruption, corruption fights you back. When you are fighting it, graft, they fight you back. So when you are involved in that fight, you must be determined. Don't look back. Make sure you look forward. And he was managing the biggest country in Africa with the biggest economy. That's why when we started the fight at the Ministry of Tourism, it wasn't easy. They even have to sponsor people to write a petition to the National Assembly. Some of them calling me now, we want to come and tell you why we wrote a petition, who told us to write, but I say I'm not interested. What I do know was I was fighting to correct a system that was not acceptable, and I know the victims would always try to fight back. This one also will be a hard one, but we are determined. We are trusted and entrusted with a responsibility. We will never waver on it. We will do it together, collectively, all of us together. Gambians, everybody for that matter. I cannot do it alone. So we must be determined to move forward to save our children. 20 years ago, I had a friend who was working at the BICI bank. I don't want to mention his name. He carried his son. They were going through Abuko. Small boy of at least 4 years, down about 5 years. The boy asked him, Daddy, by the time we grow up, people will not finish this land. Don't you think you will finish our land? Where do you expect us to live? Small boy, huh? The next day, I was chatting with this banker. He told me this story. This is, 20 years ago. That boy, he is now grown up. Just to tell you, if children of that age at that time can think about what to do, how to live with the land, the way land is managed, I saw no reason why we should not wake up and make sure that we take ownership of what belongs to us than having few people with a clique, with power, with money, owning every bit of our life. And that's what necessitated the following that I'm coming to tell you. That's why the investigation, the recommendation, I will implement them 100%. Number two, I'll give you an update of exactly what we plan to do, so that everybody, every Gambian would know what's happening. This report cannot become under the carpet. It cannot be kept under the carpet. No, never. The public was informed, there is an inquiry. When it is completed, the public need to know what's the outcome of that inquiry, right or wrong. It's our interest to make sure that, and our responsibility to inform the public the outcome of that investigation. You will allow me time to read it. Don't ask me a copy. Record what I'm saying, so that when you go, you can transcribe it, because we don't come with enough copies today. But subsequently, we can provide you copies as soon as we get to the office. You know that we're extremely busy. We are extremely busy. We are going through a lot of transformation. The issue of governors, a lot of things that we are transforming. So we cannot even have a space to have a tea, much more lunch at office. And we work very late. So it's not been an easy task. But we are up to the task. We believe that everybody here, because you are looking forward for us to do that. There is this very prominent journalist in this country I was talking to a few days ago. I said, I'm losing a lot of friends because of my position and decision on things that I'm doing. He said, don't mind them. They are the bad friends. The good friends will stick to you. Do your job. I said, is it so? He said, yes. I went to bed. I thought of what this guy told me. I said, he is absolutely right. I will lose friends, but I think these are the bad friends who do not want to see you do the right thing. So it doesn't matter. So if anybody is affected, so be it. I mean, that's what our country needs. And let me tell you that. There are thousands of Hamat Bas who can do more than what I'm doing. And they're ready to do it. Hamat Ba goes, somebody will come and do a better. And there is no going back on what we have said ourselves for now in the issue of land management and land usage in this country. There is no going back to it. Nobody. Nobody can change it. Because that's the supreme will of the Gambian people. I just gave you that background so that you will know exactly where we are heading to and what we are doing. And I'm willing to answer questions as much as possible. Government spokesperson and chairman of this meeting, and the Honorable Minister of Information. Honorable Minister, I congratulate you warmly. You have started a job, a task that we need in this country and in this government. We have done so much which is not known. We have done so much which is not exposed. Of course, some few media houses have been trying their very best to portray the things that we are doing. When we are wrong, tell us we are wrong. But when we do good, please tell the good, let people know. That's how you get respected. That you should be balancing your reporting, and that you should be able to speak out. And also, you have to share respect with people. Being a journalist, having a microphone and a pen doesn't make you super extraordinary. It makes you servant of the people, serving the people in the best of manner, with all the respect and dignity those people deserve. And I think once you know the danger of this pen, what this pen can cause, it can cause the death of millions of people in Rwanda. Once you know that microphone, you're using how much it can destroy a society and a country, you should be able to always put at the back of mind that you have a civic responsibility and a national duty to do right to every manner of people during the course of your work. And I pray that this country will develop a strong media that will certainly live to the expectation of the Gambian people. Let me give you a short story with my encounter, my great friend, late Deda Haidar. He was my good friend. Everybody knows Deda was my friend. But we are friends that speak the truth to each other, as I always do with my friends. When they started the Gambia Press Union, they were looking for money for IFIS and other things. I don't need to tell you what I've done with that in Washington. That's history. It was my role. I played my part. And he was the president then of the Gambia Press Union. We sat at his office chatting. I offended Deda so badly. For 1 week, he was putting me on every editorial, hitting me. But when he writes the editorial, when I read it, I call and laugh. Because that's a professional. And he was hitting me professionally. I mean, and we chat in the evening. After hitting me, we chat in the evening. You know what I told him? I said, Deda, some of your journalists are not journalists, they are joined the list. They need to go and learn how to do journalism. I think Deda felt that I've given him the biggest insult in life. So we later on came to understand the issue. He was angry, but later on I think he realized that training is very important in this sector. And Mr. Minister, we spoke yesterday, and I told you that they need the resources to be trained. The media houses don't have money in the Gambia. They are poorly paid. People in the Gambia here don't pay for advertisement. And let me tell you the unfortunate thing in this country, which President Barrow never wanted. And I will tell you today, you cannot own a television, you cannot own a huge GSM company, and you own a TV and own a radio. How will the media get money? How will the media get money to pay for advertisement? I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you what obtained in other countries. And then you own a radio station too. And you are the one supposed to be paying the millions to the media houses for them to build capacity, grow, and make money. Cabinet took the decision not to issue license to the GSM companies. Let them be, so that the advertisement industry will grow and make money, the media will make money. I'll tell you a story today, and I think you can quote me for it. Cabinet took the decision. Then D.A. Jawo was minister as a journalist, senior journalist. He was a minister. He's listening to me. When we came back to cabinet, I asked the question. He said, we have already issued license, even though we have asked them not to issue license. Today you are victims of that decision. You are victims of that decision, these media houses, because will QCell come to pay for advertisement to you? No, they have a TV. They have a radio. AfriCell have a radio. Everybody will start. Where will you get money? And DA is from your, DA Jawo is from your own industry. Let him listen to me. I'm saying this. He's hearing me. Barrow, his government have said, don't give license to GSM companies, because then the elite media industry would not make money that they are supposed to make. Let him respond. He is listening to me. He's our biggest critics. But I'll tell him that he did not help. He did not do much to help the media to make money. And you need this money to train your people. You need this money to upgrade your facilities. You need this money to do a better job. Let him respond. I'm saying this clearly. I was in cabinet sitting down there. Yes. So I told the minister it is important that really government to get resources to help the media houses to train their personnel. Because that training component will make a difference in the quality and how our media operates in this country. Other countries have done it. And why can't we do it here in the Gambia? Work with the Gambia Press Union, work with media houses, how we can generate revenue, how we can support them to train their people to become more professionals so that the service delivery will be important. So on that note, I stand to support you at every level in making sure that we do that. And that's why the president directed me a few weeks ago to make sure that the media houses, some of them, are giving land because they are paying too much of rent from where they are operating. And I've already directed a unit within the Ministry of Lands to handle that process, to make sure that we provide land for these media houses to reduce their cost of rent annually. And I am going to implement that request the president forwarded to me. I will do it, inshallah. Now let me start. The preamble, just for a minute. Listen to me, please. Put your tape recorder on. In the third quarter of 2023, a multi-sectoral task force was formed to review the allocation of demarcated plots of land at Kamalo Industrial Layout. The task force was to conduct a comprehensive review exercise to thoroughly examine the allocation processes. This process was triggered by the public outcry that multiple and inappropriate allocations were made. This led to the creation of the multiple stakeholder review. The multi-sectorial task force comprised of the following institutions: Ministry of Lands, Regional Government and Religious Affairs, Ministry of Trade and Industry and Employment, Ministry of Justice, National Audit Office, Gambia Police Force, Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, State Intelligence Services, National Physical Planning Board. These were the people involved in the investigation of what we call the public outcry of the manner in which plots were given at Kamalo Layout. Background. During the assignment, the task force had to review the relevant laws, policies, and regulations governing land administration and management in the Gambia. These laws and policies played a vital role in regulating land allocation, development, environmental conservation, and sustainable growth. The task force also conducted a series of interviews with allottees and made several visits to the demarcated Kamalo Industrial Layout for proper verification. During the review, the task force was made aware of the existence of a development plan alongside a sketch plan to be emanated from the development plan detailing the layout design. The sketch plan was made of two phases: Kamalo Industrial Layout proper, Kamalo Industrial Layout extension. Preparation and design. It was revealed that the growing demand for industrial land had led to the Director of Physical Planning to inform the Honorable Minister of the availability of land at Kamalo suitable for industrial layout. However, there was no documentary evidence provided by the physical planning. Nonetheless, the proposal was endorsed at a planning authority meeting of Banjul and Kombo St. Mary's Planning Authority. Demarcation and allocation. Based on the sketch plan that was derived from the development plan, the task force noted that 40 plots were demarcated in Kamalo proper, that's the first phase, and 28 plots in Kamalo extension, equaling to a total of 68 plots in both the proper and extension. Distribution of plots in Kamalo Industrial Layout as different nationalities as follows: 47 were Gambians, 4 were Mauritanians, 1 was Moroccan, 7 were Indians, and 1 was Chinese. It is important to note that the number of demarcated plots is 68 and some allottees have been allotted more than one plot. Also, among the 47 Gambians included naturalized individuals. Detailed findings. The task force noticed that the lack of national land policy has led to the lack of clarity of the mandate of various stakeholders in the land administration process, but also indicated lack of direction in the sector. The task force has limitation during the review as the master plan Kamalo file was missing and several attempts were made to retrieve the file but unsuccessfully. Let me make that clear. The file of Kamalo still disappeared. We don't know where it is. Still lost. I've looked everywhere. Nobody can see the file. For your information. It's gone. The file contains information and correspondences between ministry and relevant stakeholders leading to the establishment of Kamalo as an industrial layout. The information in this file would have given the task force the opportunity to understand how both Kamalo proper and extension was initiated and subsequently approved. Policy and legislative framework for preservation of the environment. Adhering to the laws would ensure that the allocation and development of Kamalo industrial layout are conducted in a legal manner. Looking into the policy and legislative framework for the preservation of the environment, the government of the Gambia designated Tambi Wetland National Park as a protected area among few other sites in the Gambia. The decision is anchored on several national policies. One, the famous Banjul Declaration of Sir Dawda Jawara in 1977. Two, the Gambia Environmental Action Plan of 1992. Three, the National Biodiversity Action Strategy Action Plan 1999. And D, Vision 2020. Declaration of Tambi as Ramsar, part of the convention. The Gambia ratified the Ramsar Convention on Wetland in 1996. The Tambi Wetland National Park was established in 2001 and this covers sites encompassing Banjul Kanifing, Birkama. The wetland captured incoming water and rainfalls, thus playing an important role in the shoreline stabilization and flood control, thereby acting as a hydrological buffer zone, reservoir, or lakes. Kamalo is one of the few elevations within the Tambi wetland, with a significant potential for the growth of aquatic life. The marine reptiles living in the water relied on the elevation for their breeding and resting. The forested nature of the site enables it as a habitat of other wild animals and birds, also migrated species that frequent the Gambia during certain period in a year. Therefore, the transformation of the site to accommodate industrial activity has serious ramifications for the wildlife and aquatic creatures. No evidence of environmental impact assessment. The task force noted that an EAI process was never initiated by the proponent, the above mentioned department, that is the physical planning, their parent ministry, or no completed, that's the Ministry of Environment, no completed before lands were allocated and developed, work started. That means in any development, that any land, anywhere you are giving, environmental impact assessment must be provided. It's by requirement of law. In this case, it was not done. It was never done. At this point, it will be a guesswork to know the full extent of environmental and social impact to be occasioned by the ongoing development. If an ESIA was done, it would have given such information. However, one can safely say the following are possibilities. increased encouragement and land conversion into the wetland. Pollution through waste dumping and spilling into the wetlands. Increased mangrove dieback due to human-induced activities. Ministerial approval without following due process. Section 13(2) of the State Land Act. The planning authorities shall advise whether or not the proposed application conforms with the approved plan and established planning standards. Section 14 of the State Land Act for the states. The department shall, if advised that the proposed application conforms with the approved plan and established planning standard, submit the application to the minister for approval. For those seeking industrial land allocation, the application process necessitates the submission of several documents. These include completed application form, a proposed business plan, proof of funding, typically in the form of a bank statement, the proposed building design, business registration details, and clearance from the Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, GIPA. During the review exercise, the task force noted that 28 allottees were issued with allocation letters at Kamalo Extension without any evidence of approval minuted in their files. Allocation without evidence of ministerial approval. Section 14 of the State Land Act. For the state, department shall, if advised that the proposed allocation conform with the approved plan and established planning standards, submit the application to the minister for approval. The task force noted with concern that 6 allottees were given with allocation letters without any evidence of ministerial approval minuted in the file by the minister, contrary to the above section of the State Land Act. We noted that these business entities were allocated in some instances more than one plot. Allocation to ineligible applicants. During the review, it was noted that some allottees were allocated plot of land at Kamalo proper with no evidence of business registration certificate. Also, no evidence of application fee of 50,000 paid, contrary to the dictates of the Act. Allocation of more than one plot to an allottee. It was noted that more than one plot was allocated to certain companies. However, the justification for allocating more than one plot was not provided for review. For example, there was an instance where applicants whose proposed for applying was for a warehouse were given 2 plots while those who planned to do production were given only 1 plot, casting doubt about the criteria used to determine these allocations. Summary of allocation abnormalities. In summary, the task force discovered a lot of abnormalities in the allocation process of Kamalo Industrial Layout, and these are as follows. Ministers approval without following. Minister approving without following due process. Allocation without evidence of minister's approval. Allocation to ineligible applicants. Allocation of more than one plot to an allottee. Unpresented application files. Missing documents from applicant's file. The lack of evidence of the environmental impact assessment plan. Recommendation now. We come to the recommendation after all this, what the committee have recommended. It says, the Ministry of Land, Regional Government, Religious Affairs should ensure that the strategic documents such as the National Land Policy is developed, implemented, and monitored. The document should clearly outline the country's agenda pertaining to land and the roles and responsibility of the authorities involved in land administration. I'll come to that on the second part of my reading. Number 2 recommendation. The ministry should endeavor to have a proper filing system in place, and efforts should be made to ensure that the missing Kamalo file is produced, where we will get more evidence of some of the wrongdoings and concerns of the investigative committee. We are looking for the file. I don't know whether it has been turned to ash or is still alive somewhere. We'll try to get it. 3, the decision to make Kamalo an industrial layout should be reconsidered, as it poses serious adverse environmental challenges, as most of the investors have projected to build heavy industries on the site. 4, the above can, however, be validated through a comprehensive environment audit in accordance with Regulation 30 of the cited EAI regulation. It is advisable for the NEA to perform comprehensive general and specific environmental impact assessment at the Kamalo site to determine any existing or potential damage. This assessment will serve as crucial information for making informed decisions on a broad scale. 5, the task force recommends that the entire allocation at Kamalo extension be revoked, simply because all the 28 allocation did not follow due process. In accordance, there is no development on the site. 6, there was no evidence provided to the committee that environmental impact assessment was conducted either by the ministry or the allottees before allocation was done. Therefore, the opportunities associated with such an important assessment was lost due to the ministry's failure for not complying with its relevant laws. 7, the task force recommended that those allocations without evidence of ministerial approval be revoked. The Department of Land Survey, under the leadership of the former director, did not follow the due process by allocating without any evidence of ministerial approval in files. 8, in the absence of a business registration certificate and receipt of payment application fee, the said allottees should not have been considered for allocation. As consequence, the committee recommends that their allocation should be revoked based on the following, or the foregoing. It is evident that the Department of Lands and Survey, under the leadership of former director, did not properly scrutinize the submission of the applicants before allocation. Number 9, the task force recommends establishing clear criteria policy for allocating multiple plots to an individual in the future. This criteria will serve as a transparent and accountable yardstick to determine qualification and enhance the allocation process to be fair and just. In the absence of a clear criteria, they should forfeit the other plots to the state. Number 10, the task force recommends establishing clear criteria policy for allocating multiple plots to individuals in future. This criteria will serve as a transparent, accountable yardstick to determine qualification and enhance allocation process to be fair and just. In the absence of a clear criteria, they should forfeit the other plots to the state. Number 11, in the case of one physical planning staff, I don't want to mention his name, no ministerial approval was made. Well, in the case of one individual, for his allocation, I don't want to mention his name, no ministerial approval was obtained, and the task force was unable to ascertain how he received a photocopied allocation letter. Consequently, the task force recommends that any allocation lacking ministerial approval be deemed to be invalid and revoked. Number 12, additionally, the task force further recommends initiating administrative sanctions against particular staff at the Department of Physical Planning who presented a photocopy of allocation letter to the applicant and devise preventive measures for similar incidents in the future. 13, the task force recommend that allocation, that was a particular company, to be revoked. In fact, this person came to surrender his property even before investigation was completed. It future recommends that the director of lands should be held liable for recommending the applicant by ignoring the professional advice of a senior officer at the physical planning and housing. Number 14, by submitting personal bank statement instead of a company's bank statement, raises doubts about the liquidity of the company at the time, and as such, the application did not meet the requirement to be allocated plot, and as a result, it should be revoked. In conclusion, number 15, the ministry hereby accept, let me just tell you, listen to me. The ministry, the minister, hereby accept the recommendation from the multiple stakeholders task force and pledge to implement the recommendation in line with due process in accordance with all the laws. Therefore, it is conclusive. In fact, the entire plots of the extension will be nullified, will be cancelled, and all orders that have fall short of the recommendation here will be revoked as recommended by the task force. And we'll set up a committee to make sure that these recommendations are fully implemented to the letter. And I'll be part of that committee myself.